Hi folks, and welcome back to the plot. It is a gorgeous bank holiday Sunday and I have had a really busy week, so I've not been up here very much and the jobs have just started to mount up. I've got a little to-do list today, so quite a lot to do today, but it's all going to be fine. And you might have seen there was a little post on Instagram and this might have given you a clue about where I've been and why I've been so busy, and you might have seen me live for the first time ever having a really good laugh with Tony C. Smith and Steve from Green Side Up. He's got a live stream every Monday, so tune in tomorrow, 7 o'clock, if you want to see us answering a few questions and everyone taking the mick out of me, basically. But it's really good. But because I've been away, there's loads to do today. I've got potatoes to plant, carrots to plant in the ground, lots of updates to show you as well. So I'm going to pick you up and we'll have a little wander and then I'll get stuck into doing a few bits. I really hope you enjoy. So I'll do the little route that I always do and we'll start at the top of the bed where these leeks have really come into their own actually. With spring and the warmer temperatures, they're starting to look really nice, but I still think the harvesting, you know, they're pretty diddy little leeks. But one thing I am really happy about is our onion sets are really starting to pop. It was a little worry because these took a little while to start putting on their growth, and it made it very difficult to see where they were because I put them quite deep in the ground. I was a little bit worried for a while. I couldn't really see the lines. I hadn't marked them very well, but really glad to see they are popping up and they're all over the place. A line in here, there's 3 lines in that bed there, a line back there, and a line all the way back there as well. So I'm just trying to find out where they might survive without succumbing to onion white rot. You can just about see the 2 potato trenches here, and we've got a few potato leaves that are showing up. I'm not sure if these are volunteers from last year because I did grow them in a similar area. So they might just be volunteer potatoes, and they've come off to the side. There's another one there, so I'm not sure if they're actually the ones that I've planted, but I'm going to put 2 more rows in here today, and I need to take out those leeks to make some room, really. One thing that is really nice is all the grass seed that I put in here for this pathway has taken. It's looking pretty good now. You should be able to see the kind of start of the green grass, and that should create a really nice pathway to the centre of the greenhouse here. It would be nice to get an archway or something over here to create just that bit of extra structure. Looking forward to that at some point. And here we've got the onion bed. These are looking really good. We'll see whether or not they escape white rot later on. But for now it's looking good, and I'll be into planting that soon enough with some greens or something down the middle, hopefully. The broccoli going absolutely bananas, looking as good as ever. We've got the kind of sickly plant here. I'm just kind of leaving that one. I would just take the seed from it, but ideally I want to take seed from the healthy ones, so I am letting a few of those go to flower, but that is just so good. It's so good. It's always putting a smile on my face. Not much going on in this bed down here. We're leaving that. There is a row of onions, and the chard is just starting to put out some nice tender new growth, so I can be taking these. This has overwintered quite successfully. And last week there's a really cool grey bee that's distracting me. You don't see many grey bees. Very cool. Anyway, peas. These are looking a bit sad with me, aren't they? I think they're a bit annoyed, and I'm not sure if this is just them unable to deal with the wind or the change in temperature. I didn't really do a good job of hardening these off. I didn't harden them off at all. Could have been something to do with that, but they are showing, thankfully, new growth at the tips. So all is not lost. I think they will bounce back, but if not, it's not the end of the world. We've got absolutely loads still going in the greenhouse, and back here, the orchard area really starts to come into its own in spring. The cherry blossom is looking absolutely lush, and it's filled with the sound of bees. It's absolutely alive. Every time I go over there, I think I've got my ears next to a hive or something. The apple tree on the right, bouncing back pretty well. I gave that such a hard prune this year. The best news of all, the most exciting thing, is that my newly planted apple tree is looking really good. It's coming into blossom. It's looking healthy, and I'm just over the moon. This area at the back, now I've removed this big bag that was here. I've got a lot of kind of wasted space. So I'm going to talk to the neighbours and see if they mind me planting this up with something like raspberries or soft fruit, this might be a good place to put them in. Let's get in the greenhouse, shall we, and do some work. So just before I show you around the greenhouse, I made a bit of an interesting observation recently. I've been watching a lot more gardening videos this year because I've got a bit more time. And as a rule, people's greenhouses are bursting with seed trays, and they've got absolutely loads and loads of stuff. Their greenhouse is rammed. And mine always looks so paltry by comparison, you know, like so rubbish. And I was wondering why that is. I think the thing is that I just have quite a small allotment. It's kind of confusing in the videos. A few people have said that they have no idea how big my plot is. And it's because I don't have any fences. So when I'm recording, it looks like, for example, the space behind me is also mine, but this is next door's plot. And the plot to the other side isn't fenced either. And you sort of saw the back fence in the clip just now where I was by the cherry blossom. So I think a lot of people think I have a bigger plot than I do, and I think I've just got a bit better at gauging how much space the seedlings take and growing a more sensible amount of seedlings for the space. So I don't think I'm doing anything wrong, although my greenhouse at this time of year does look kind of empty and as if I've got a lot of wasted space. I don't think that is the case. Let me show you what's in here at the moment. There's not too much going on, and what is here isn't looking too great, and I'm not sure why, to be honest. Here we've got a salad tray. These little salads have been sown for over a month now, I think March the 6th, and so this is like 6 weeks on, maybe a little more, and this is all I've got to show for it, which is very strange. This is all the year round lettuce and Valmain, which I think are both quite fast growing. The Radicchio, really poor germination. I've sowed these twice after the first initial poor germination, so that's not great. And then at the back there's a few cucurbits. I sowed these when there was still a bit of a frost risk, so I need to do another sowing of these now that the frost risk has mostly passed, just so we've got a few more. These were a bit of a risk, but they're looking good. Just starting to see a few green shoots. Fantastic. And then over the other side, my brassicas look very similar to my lettuce. So I'm not sure if this is a compost issue. I don't think it's a watering issue, but it's not great, you know. I would expect these to be 2 or 3 times the size, and normally about now I'd be thinking about putting them on into their own little 3-inch pots. And then a few weeks later, start of May, I'd be planting those out. And the alliums, the winter leeks, these are looking mostly okay, but the germination on the spring onions is very poor, even though these also have had a second sowing. Not great. Over here, mixed successes with the flower sowing. This bucket is looking incredible. I wish I could remember what is in any of these. I didn't label them, but what I did is I took pictures on my mobile phone and I thought that's going to be fine. And you know what happened? For some reason, those specific pictures all corrupted and they don't show up. They're just grey blank boxes, which is absolutely useless, obviously. So hopefully as they grow up a little bit, they'll become identifiable. This one I'm very annoyed about. This is self-grown marigold seed, French marigolds, and I've put absolutely hundreds of seeds in here and none of them are germinating. And I have absolutely no idea why. I don't know what is going on with those. So I think I've kind of given up on French marigolds this year. But the calendula next door, absolutely exploding. I did exactly the same thing with both those, and I've started pricking out some of these. We've got a little pot here, and I'll be doing a few things with those, hopefully in the borders, which will be nice. And just next door, we've got the strawberries. I mentioned I had a little plan for these, and the plan was I was going to plant up my rusty old wheelbarrow. It's a classic thing, isn't it? Planting up the old wheelbarrow. But when I came to do this and looked a little more closely at the wheelbarrow, I realised its structural integrity is severely compromised. And if I put a load of wet compost in here, I think the bottom would just fall out. So I do have a plan B, and another classic, I've got a hanging basket for the greenhouse. So just before I get stuck in, I promise I will do some work today. There is just one other thing I wanted to show you, and that is this little goodie box. I brought this back from Liz Zorab's New by the Farm. Thank you ever so much to her for donating these to me. Very, very kind of her. And this is mostly a box of perennial veg. She did a video a little while back that I'll link up here, all about perennial veg, and they can obviously be a game changer in terms of harvests and especially the hungry gap. But one of the reasons that I was most excited to try my hand at having some perennial veg is that I really hate how the allotment looks in winter where it's just completely bare. My allotment for a lot of the time is just these boring empty beds, and so I'm really hoping that this kind of stuff will inject a little bit more interest and a little bit more character into the beds, as well as of course providing useful harvests. And just in here we've got some cowslips as well, which are one of my favourite plants of all time. I've spent a lot of time in nature reserves. As you know, I've got a conservation background, and I find that the flowers I'm attracted to are not the big gaudy things. I tend to appreciate things like this little forget-me-not, which have these tiny, tiny little flowers. In nature, a lot of our wildflowers in England are developed to have much smaller flowers. So that's kind of what I've grown to appreciate over the years. And so having some of these in the garden, I think, is going to bring me a lot of joy. Oh, and next door, you can see I've got my peas here. These are more early peas, and I'm just trying to harden these off a little bit, get the wind on them and the sun, and I'm hoping that will maybe make them a little bit more resistant than the peas, which just went in and are looking sad. But I think that's enough talking. There's some work to be done. So you guys have already seen these leeks a lot, but I must say again, I'm quite pleasantly surprised with how these came out, given that I completely forgot about them in a pot that got shaded out for a good month in the height of summer. This is my pot of leeks, and it was hidden down here for ages, like maybe a month. So a few more of these to come out today. Let's see if they're any good. So, as expected, not the most fantastic leeks, but that is some good eating. And I'm not too fussed about digging this over because I'm about to put the potatoes in, and I do dig in my potatoes. I do think that one thing that is making me think twice about growing potatoes in containers is that I think digging the potatoes in does do a lot of damage to the soil structure, and it might be a good idea to be growing some potatoes in containers next year. Now, I started work on the potato trench, and actually after the first spadeful I had a bit of a change of heart, and what I decided to do instead is try direct planting the potatoes. I spoke a few weeks ago about how the soil in the beds is not looking too healthy. There's not much life in there. It's well recognised that digging can impact life in the soil, so this time around I'm just going to try planting these ones in direct. Okay, so carrots. I don't like talking about carrots. I had a real failure with carrots last year, and I kept trying. I kept sowing more and more. I did eventually get some to germinate, but they were just rubbish. They were really bad. And Tony C. Smith has said, you cannot have an allotment without growing carrots. You've got to grow carrots, lad. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give them another go. And I've got some early Nantes seed here. It's slightly old. I think I opened this last year, and carrot does do best for fresh seed. I'm going to give it a go. I've got some more in the post. There's a holly blue butterfly just there on my potatoes, one of the potato mounds, and it's just catching the sun. I think it might be enjoying the water. Holly blues are amazing. They're so delicate. They're one of our earliest butterflies that is actually fresh, so it emerges from its cocoon really early in the season. A lot of the butterflies you see around this time of year have overwintered in sheds or outbuildings. The holly blue is one of the first that is properly emerged, so they are so gorgeous. They're always pristine at this time of year. Oh, that is so good. That's the first one I've seen this year. Anyway, let's get onto the carrots. I am sowing these probably thicker. They than you're meant to. I think you go for 3 an inch, but given my prior record of carrot germination, going in quite dense with these. And touch wood, as a rule, it seems that for whatever reason, we don't really get carrot root fly issues on these allotments. Now I've said that, that will probably not hold true, but that does mean that thinning out isn't quite such an issue. And then I'm just going to move the board so it's nice and central on those new seeds. So we'll see how those carrots get on, but the next job that I want to do is potting up and planting out some of the goodies that Liz gave me. The first one is a rhubarb, and I was umming and ahhing about where to put this because these get very big, and as you saw at the start of the video, I don't have too much growing space on my plot. But then I thought, hey, this wheelbarrow is no longer going to be the strawberry planter. Why don't I put it right here? This is going to be a pretty good area, I think, for the rhubarb. It'll have lots of space to spread out and do its thing. So that should be nice there. The next thing is this cowslip plant. Now, I've only got one of these, so I'm going to have to be on it. I'm going to have to be really diligent and try and harvest some seed and propagate these, because I would love a good, strong number. And these are going to go back in the orchard behind me, so we'll find somewhere to put those. The next thing are the perennial cabbages, the brassicas, the kales, and I need to be careful that I don't leave these in the greenhouse because I think it will cook them. They do better in cooler temperatures, and there's no space for them out on the beds yet. I want to get these netted, protect them from the butterflies and the caterpillars. So when there's a bit more space and I've harvested a lot more of the purple sprouting broccoli and that's done, they'll probably be going in that bed. But for now, I'm just going to find somewhere outside for them. Let's get all this shifted and get the rhubarb in. I want to give this a really good start with lots and lots of compost. So cool to have the rhubarb planted, and with the cowslip, I'm going to put one in about here. I still ideally would really like a nice kind of wildflower, meadowy kind of area with the orchard, and I'm trying to do that by removing the grass, removing the nutrients, and hopefully getting some yellow rattle established, but it's a bit of a long shot. So in the short term, it'll be really nice to have some bulbs and some flowers that add a little bit of colour underneath the trees. Oh, look at that. These are just one of my all-time favourite plants. They are just so gorgeous. And as well, this is actually the food plant of quite a rare butterfly called the Duke of Burgundy, but they have some habitat requirements which aren't met by my allotment, so I don't think I'll be seeing one. So it's a lot of really nice jobs today. And the next one is this strawberry hanging basket. So I've got in here 3 strawberry plants. They're quite small. A little bit worried that 3 might be too many. I think maybe 2 might be better, but I don't know. We're doing 3. We've got 3. So I'm just going to load up this hanging basket, and I've got in here as well, not too pretty, but a bag of bloodfish and bone. I ran out of bloodfish and bone at the allotment, so I brought some in this ugly bag. Just layering up the bottom quickly, taking out any nasty big chunks. And then the old classic trick, get all the pots in and fill around them. Plants are looking okay. Not too root bound, but just right for putting on, I think. Now, these aren't the most robust baskets, so I'm hoping this will hold with the weight of the water, but like I said earlier, hopefully it won't cause too many issues. I might bump my head on it once or twice, but I think it should be okay there. I'm getting an awful lot done today. I'm starting to feel a little bit tired, and the last thing for me to do, well, I do still need to mow the grass outside, but the last thing for me to do in here is get sowing. And there's quite a few things that I want to sow, and this is already a long video, so what I'm going to do is get them sown and then just give you a quick overview once it's done. So I've been busy working away in the greenhouse. It's a really idyllic day for this. I've had a big smile on my face, but I have been getting very, very warm. And the question I get asked the most at the moment is whether or not I've replaced my glass. And as you can see, I still have not got a replacement pane. And because of that, I have not been coming down to the allotment and opening it up in the mornings like I often would have started doing around this time of year. And I think despite having that pane of glass missing, it has actually got really, really hot in the greenhouse. I don't have a thermometer as well, which is another thing I should invest in at some point. And I've noticed these alliums, the leeks, some of them have actually germinated and died. So it's not all bad germination. I think they've been getting plenty of water. But if I look down at the brassicas down here as well, I think these are showing signs of stress. So that kind of purple coloration, and a lot of the leaves have died off as well. And I've actually spotted one or two fully dead plants. I think once again, it's not an issue of water. This is really heavy, and I've not watered it today. So if anything, I might have overwatered them. But yes, I think what I'm going to do is be a bit more vigilant, leave the greenhouse a bit more open. And as well, I've put these right down the bottom, and I've set some trays above them to try and give them a little bit of shade. Hopefully that will just reduce the temperature a little bit and take the stress off them. Hopefully they'll start to grow a bit better. The other thing I've realised, oh my god, on the brassicas is, so here's an embarrassing admission. I had no idea, but all of these cabbages that I've sowed are spring cabbages. And I thought a spring cabbage meant you sowed it at the start of spring. It doesn't. Spring cabbages are meant to kind of go through winter, and then they're going to be ready in spring. And that's a mistake I've made for 2 years now. So what I've done is I've gone and bought some winter cabbage. That's in the post. I did a seed order. And winter cabbages you sow now around this time of year, or well, March ideally, and then you get a crop at the start of winter. So that's a bit of a whoops, but hey, oh well. And what have I been sowing? Well, I've got a few things. I've got a new pot of leeks here because I just don't trust that little Charles Dowling tray. I've got some butternut squashes. Always very exciting. I hope I get a good crop of butternut squash this year. I've got a little tray of basil. It's not a tray, it's a pot, but you know what I mean. And at the back, I've sowed a few more courgettes, cucumbers, and squashes. Just a bit of a successional sowing of those because the new one should be absolutely fine now. And I think that is just about it. There's one other thing that I've sowed outdoors, once again, because of Tony C. Smith's relentless mockery. I'm kidding, but he did lay into me for giving up on growing pak choi during the live stream. So what I've done is, you can see there, I've sowed a little line of pak choi. I failed at that last year. I think I sowed it far too deep into summer, and it doesn't like the hot temperature. So a little bit earlier this year, we'll see. Also, I think I might have transplanted it, and it's a direct sown crop, ideally. So there we go. Bit of a bumper episode today, wasn't it? It's been a while since I had this much to do at the allotment, but it's been a joy. These things do all kind of come at once quite often. So, you know, things like the carrots and the potatoes, and it just so happens that I've had loads and loads of other things to do as well. There's one job left for me to do today, and that is getting on to the purple sprouting broccoli, which I can see has a cabbage white butterfly in it. Brilliant. The netting I have is absolute rubbish. I swear I'm gonna get a brassica cage soon. Anyway, the only other thing for me to do is to say thank you ever so much for watching. I'm gonna ask you as well to please hit the like and subscribe hit the notification bell if you want a notification every time I upload a video. That's why it's called a notification bell. Really bad at asking, hate doing it, but please do anyway. Right. Yes, that's it, isn't it? Thank you ever so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again next time, and maybe on tomorrow's live stream over at Tony C. Smith's channel. It's been a long day. My head is scrambled. Lots of love. Bye.